who was a young god who was the patron saint of love and cheerfulness. It's similar to Romans Cupid and the Greeks Eros. Um, but unlike him, he didn't interfere in having couples fall in love, but would rather remind people to never stop celebrating love. He was the son of Dosha, who was the daughter of the last Dacian, which Dacia was. He was the king Decebalus, who was defeated by the Romans, and then the Romans absorbed Dacia into the Roman Empire. And Romania today, Romania means people of Rome. In the town of what was it? In Transylvania, Bucharest, there's a statue of Romnos and Remus, sort of a reminder of the Romans' long time that they were there. So February 24th is Dragobeat. It's the traditional Roman lover day, considered also to be the first day of spring, and is particularly known as the day when the birds are betrothed, and boys and girls go and gather flowers and sing together. On March 1st, it's also this traditional celebration of spring. It's called Martisor, and people make these really whimsical little bows and flowers and little um, yarn dolls in red and white, and they give them to each other. It's um, it's a symbol of spring and the beginning of from ancient Rome. It had its beginning because New Year's Eve was celebrating on the 1st of March. That was before January and February came into an existence. Oh, anyway, the red and white means peace and war. It also may symbolize winter and spring. So the talisman that they make, these red and white talismans, are offered to people you care about, um, um, you know, people that are your partners. It's just a symbol of wishing them the best for the springtime and the following year. In there's also carries off into other areas. The red and white spring symbol is also in Bulgaria, where they offer these little talismans to people. So, so anyway, that's pretty much what I just wanted to share. That, as I said, it wasn't um, a real story. It was just that this time of year, this custom, which is found in not only in all the areas of Romania, but Bulgaria, and it's sort of like a fun thing. You'll see these little red and white talismans hanging from trees, and people pin them on themselves, and it's quite a festive time. Everybody's happy that springtime is here. Okay, that's basically my little blurb. Next month I'll have a real story.
Marianne? Oh, she's done. She's unmuted. Okay.
Okay, good. Hi, Rhoda. Good. Well, is there someone else who would like to be next to tell a story? Would you, Rhoda, like to tell us a story today? Oh, no, we can't hear you. Rhoda, you have to unmute.
Okay.
Oh, good. Now you have. Good.
Actually, no, I don't have a story. So I decided the audience is always as important almost as the storyteller. So at least I would look interesting because of the necklace that I'm wearing. which is open. And so I'm going to be the audience and appreciative, and I will applaud for everybody. And that's it.
Thank you, Rhoda. Oh, it's just so nice to see you. Yeah.
Yeah, it is really good to see you,
About your
Rhoda.
necklace. Can you tell me more about your necklace, Rhoda?
No, I just saw it, and I chose the background. It was a fun thing to do, whether among my selection of, and it's interesting that this kind of brassy look the best against this. I don't know if you can tell that it's the Black Watch plaid. Can you see?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not Scottish. Actually, I should wear it next time and find a Scottish story.
Perfect. Yeah.
Didn't find time enough. And so I just found it because I don't really like to wear things around my neck. I guess that it bothers me at the back of my neck. So I don't often wear necklaces. And so this is a kind of necklace.
Necklace. That's beautiful with the leaves. Very lovely. Yeah. Rhoda, I want you to meet Lori. You see Lori on your screen? She's learning how to make sure we can have a meeting from Miriam. So we thank her for that. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to tell you all a story, and I can be recorded. I don't mind that. Yeah. All right. I guess I can start. Where am I? Here. View. Here. View. Huh. Did I get lost? Can you hear me? Yes, you can hear me. All right. Good. All right. Well, the story, even though I can't see me, that doesn't matter. I have my audience here. The story that I would like to tell is called Tatterhood. And I don't know whether I told it ever to you before, but I'm planning on telling that to the kids at school, virtually in the near future. This is from a lovely book called Tatterhood, which is edited by Ethel Johnson Phelps, who really wanted to have stories where girls were the heroes and not just the handmaidens and rescued by the princess. So this is her story, Tatterhood. It's what the book is named, and it's the first story in the book. Now, once there was a king and a queen who had no children, and it bothered the queen so very much. She always was saying to her husband, "Oh, I wish we had children or a child, because they would be running around playing and laughing in the courtyard. And I just am so sad we have no children." Well, the king said, "If you just want some children running around here, why don't you ask your kinswoman, was her sister, that she would let her two little girls come over and stay with us for a while in the palace." And the queen liked that idea, and she talked to her sister, and the sister allowed the two children to come over and stay with her two little girls. It gave the queen a lot of pleasure to hear them playing out in the courtyard, and she would sit by the window in her room looking down into the courtyard, and she could see the children playing and laughing. Now, this one day, she peeked down in the courtyard and she saw that there were her two nieces, but there was a girl that she had never seen before, dressed in tattered clothes. And so the queen ran right out into the courtyard and said, "Little girl, what are you doing here?" And her nieces went over and took the little girl by her hand and said, No, we invited her to play. We invited her to come and play." And then that little girl, spunky as she was, she said, she said this to the queen, "You would not be talking to me that way if you knew who my mother was." "Well," the queen said, "and just who is your mother?" Well, my mother is outside there in the market selling eggs. And if you knew that my mother could help women have children who seem unable to have children, you would never talk to me like this. Well, said the queen, please go and invite your mother over here so that I can meet her. So the little girl went and got the egg seller, brought her to the queen, and the queen said, very nice to meet you. I would like you to have lunch with me. Would you join me for lunch? And the queen had a sumptuous lunch with delicious beverages arranged for she and the egg seller. And after they were enjoying their meal, the queen said to her, um, I understand from your daughter that you know how to help women who haven't been able to have children have a child. And I want to have a child more than anything in the world. And the egg seller said, you should never listen to prattle of children. But I really, really wonder if you might be able to help me. Well, by this time, the egg woman was so relaxed and she had enjoyed her lunch and her beverages. And she said to the queen, well, you know, I just don't. I think this would be okay. There shouldn't be any bad effects from what I'm going to tell you. So this is what you do before you go to bed tonight. You have brought up to your quarters 2 buckets of water, and you wash yourself from each bucket. And after you have done that, you pour the bucket of water underneath your bed. Just leave the water there. And when you wake up in the morning, you will see that 2 flowers will have grown. There will be one flower that is very strange and oddly shaped, but there will be one flower that is very fair. It will be pink and fragrant. You are to eat the fair flower, the pink, fragrant one, but you are not to eat the unusual flower. Are those rules clear to you? Oh, yes, she said. So the egg woman left, and that evening the queen did exactly as she was told to do. She had 2 buckets of water brought up to her room. She washed herself from each bucket. She emptied the water from the buckets underneath her bed. She went to sleep. In the morning, when she woke up, she got down on her knees and she looked underneath her bed. And sure enough, there were 2 flowers growing. Now she remembered that the egg woman had said that she should eat the fair, pretty flower, but she should have nothing to do with that other flower. So she picked the pink, fragrant flower and she ate it, and it tasted quite good. And then she looked at that green flower and she said to herself, what possible harm could there be in me eating the second flower? So she ate that green, very strange flower also. And after a period of time passed, the queen found that she was going to have a baby, and she was very excited. And after that long period of time passed, she gave birth. Now, the first child that was born was so strange. She came out riding on a goat, waving a wooden spoon and saying, Mama, Mama. And the queen said, oh, my dear, am I your mama? And that little girl said, don't worry, the next one will be more to your liking. And sure enough, the queen was carrying twins, and the second daughter that was born, well, she was pretty and sweet. And these 2 babies, these 2 girls were entirely different. And as time passed, they were inseparable. The princess, second born, who liked to wear the pretty dresses and was so accommodating, was inseparable from her older sister, by a short period of time, who rode around on a goat with her magic spoon and never wore pretty clothes, always wore whatever clothes she wanted to, and they were so tattered, the queen gave up trying to get her to wear what she would like her to, so they just called her Tatterhood. They just called her Tatterhood. So years passed. Now the girls were almost grown, and it was Christmas Eve. They were in the queen's chambers when they heard this horrendous noise, crashing and smashing. And they said, Tatterhood said to the queen, "What is that?" And the queen said, "Oh no, oh no. Every 7 years, the trolls come. They just destroy the palace. We stay away from them in our quarters. And when they finally leave, then we repair everything that's been broken." And Tatterhood said, I will make them go away. "Oh no, the queen said, "we must stay in here." And Tatterhood said, "I will make them go away, but do not let my sister stick her head out of this door. You all must stay in here." And Tatterhood went out with her spoon, and she began to whack all of those trolls on the shoulders, on the backside, on their head, and she was chasing them away. But it made this tremendous noise. So her sister, in her worry about Tatterhood, stuck her head out the door to see what was going on, when a troll who had not yet been rounded up saw that princess, ran right over to her, took off her head, and replaced her head with a calf's head. Now all the sister could say was "moo, moo," and she went back into the room. Now Tatterhood had gotten rid of all of the trolls, and she went into the queen's quarters again, and she scolded the attendants. "Look what happened because you didn't keep my sister in this room. Now I will have to go to the trolls and get her head back." Well, she went to her father and she said, "I need a ship that is trimmed very well and sufficient stores for a long voyage." Now the king realized that he had a most unusual daughter, but she was very clever, that daughter. So he said, "I will give you a ship. I will give you a sailing ship filled with stores, but I insist that you take a captain and a crew." "No," Tatterhood said, "I will not take a captain and a crew. I will take the ship filled with stores and my sister with the head where she can only say moo moo, and we will go and solve this issue." So they had no choice. So Tatterhood and her sister went down to this fully equipped ship, and they sailed away. And they sailed right to where the trolls all lived on the coast. And when they came into that port and docked, Tatterhood said to her sister, "You must stay below. Don't come up." Now, the people in that town realized this was an unusual ship they hadn't seen before. And the messengers from the palace came and they said, "Hello," they said to Tatterhood, riding around on the deck on her goat, waving her wooden spoon. "Is there anyone else with you?" "Yes," she said, "my sister." Well, they said, could we see your sister?" "No, you cannot." Well, the king and his two sons, they would like to meet you." No, if they want to meet us, they must come down here." Well, word was given to the king and the two princes about what the requirements were in order to see what was going on. So the eldest prince came down to the boat, and there he saw Tatterhood riding around, and he said, "Did you come with someone else?" Yes, she said, "My sister." "Well, may I meet your sister?" "Well, yes." And so the sister came up, and beautiful little girl, not girl, young woman that she was. And just like that, that prince fell in love with her. Oh, he said, would you marry me? And she said, I will not marry anyone until my sister is married. And the prince, he was very discouraged because who in the world would marry a woman who rode around on a goat in tattered clothes waving a spoon? But hospitality must be given. So he said, the king and my brother and I would like to invite you to the palace this evening for dinner. And Tatterhood accepted, and her sister was very excited about it. So as they prepared to go, the pretty second twin, she put on her best kirtle, which is a skirt, and a lovely top, and she said to her sister, you know, I brought many dresses. Maybe you'd like to borrow one. No, I will not. Well, you know, you have a lot of soot on your face. Maybe you would wash your face and let me comb your hair. I will not. I will go exactly as I am. So it came time to go to the palace when that eldest prince came riding a beautiful white horse, escorting another white horse, and he helped the pretty second twin get on. Now, the younger prince, he heard what this was all about, so he came down with another on his horse with another horse for a Tatterhood to ride. And so she said, I will not ride your horse. I will get there on my goat. So they were riding along, the second prince on his lovely horse, and she on her goat, dressed in her tattered clothes with soot on her face, waving her wooden spoon around. And they rode along in silence. And then Tatterhood said, well, you don't talk much, do you? And the prince said, well, what's there to talk about? And then the prince said, well, why are you riding on a goat? And Tatterhood said, oh, am I riding on a goat? So she took her wooden spoon and she touched the goat, and it turned into a very fine steed. Oh, he said. Well, why are you carrying that wooden spoon? Oh, am I carrying a wooden spoon? She said. So she touched it. It turned into a rowan wood wand. You know, rowan is where the magic lies when you make a wand. And then they were riding along, and she said, well, aren't you going to ask me while I'm dressed like that? No, he said, I understand that you're dressed like that because you wish to be dressed like that. And if you don't want to be dressed like that, why, you will change it. She said, and she touched herself, and now she was in a beautiful gown. Well, then she said, don't you want to ask me while I have soot all over my face? Oh, no, he said. I know that if you didn't want soot all over your face, you would do something about it. Well, then she touched her face and all the dirt was gone, and they went to the palace. And when they got to the palace, what we know is that there was a wonderful feast. There was a wonderful party. What we don't know is, what did Tatterhood look like when she dressed beautifully and took the soot off her face? That's the end of the story, but a wonderful time was held by everyone. And that is the end. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
May I ask a question, Doris?
Sure.
You mentioned telling stories at a school.
Yes.
How and when do you do that?
Well, for 8 years, I used to go every month to 20 classrooms and tell stories, but now no one goes anywhere in school. So my husband's a filmmaker. He films me telling stories, and I send them to the teachers, and they put them up for the children to do. Yeah. But the
It's
preschool,
awesome.
thank you. And you know, I would usually tell them 2 or 3 stories in my half an hour, but it's so much more complicated now. I just send the one story. But the preschool, where I tell stories twice a month, that's on Zoom. And that's not the same. You know, the kids are wearing masks, they're sitting far apart, but and somehow I see them wearing masks and I think I must put my mask on, but I go there, I do Zoom twice a month with them. Yeah,
Mhm.
hope it'll be over sometime.
Soon, soon.
Hope so. Yeah. So thank you for listening. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Janet, did you want to share something with us today? Are you there? No. Janet. Okay. Is Janet, are you still there?
I am. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Good.
Oh, excellent. Okay. I have a very short story. I will just name it A Worried Mom.
Okay.
A mom was worried about her son walking to school. He was in kindergarten.
I'm sorry.
So he didn't want her to walk with him. So she had an idea. She didn't want him to think that he had no independence at all, but she also wanted to know that he was safe. So she had an idea about how to handle it. She asked her neighbor if she would please follow Timmy to school every day, staying at a distance so he probably wouldn't notice. The neighbor said, "Oh, yes, I'll do that because it's a good idea for me to get up early with my toddler and get some exercise." So the next school day, she followed Timmy to school, and Timmy was walking to school with a neighbor girl. And she did this every day for a week. Well, the children were walking along on their way to school and they were kicking stones and sticks and chatting. And the little girl said, "You know, I've noticed that a lady is following us every day. Do you know who she is?" And Timmy nonchalantly replied, "Oh, yes, I know who she is. That's Shirley Goodness and Marcy, her daughter." And she said, "Shirley Goodness? What? Who is Shirley Goodness and why is she following us?" Well, nonchalantly, Timmy said, "Oh, you know, um, every night my mom makes me say the 23rd Psalm with my prayers because she worries about me a lot.
Surely.
So it says in the prayer in the 23rd Psalm, surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. So I guess I better get used to it."
Oh, thank you, Janet. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Surely goodness and mercy. Well, James is here also. Hi, James. Oops, you have to unmute.
Hi, James. Welcome.
Hi there. No, I'm sorry for the late. I thought I could make better time getting down to where I've an appointment after this meeting. So glad to do this.
Yeah, good. Well, James, there's a woman here. Her name is Lori, and she is with Miriam, helping us to get on Zoom or get this meeting started. So she'll be doing that. Yeah.
Very good.
So you have a story for us?
Yes, I do.
Good.
A book I just found, this last month or so. I did not, I've enjoyed a lot of things that written by and illustrated by Marie Sendak,
Oh, yes.
but this is one I'd never heard of before. I found it in an online book, on a discount book catalog. It's called The Big Green Book, and it says, you can see from the size, it's in a big green book. And the story is the only children's story written by Robert Graves, who wrote, you know, wide variety of books, a lot of them about mythology and novels and memoirs and other things. But there was this story that he wrote that Ray Sendak illustrated in the early 60s, about a year before he did Where the Wild Things Are, you know. But this is The Big Green Book. And the story's about a boy named Jack. His parents were dead, and he was living with an uncle and aunt, and he did not think they treated him very well, because he wanted to go out. He always wanted to go out walking with their dog, but they insisted always of coming along and walking with them. Here, and I'll show a few of the illustrations that are here, but there's Jack with his uncle and aunt and the dog. And I'll just tell you up front, I'm leaving out a lot of the dog story to make this a compact enough tale. So anyway, Jack was sort of dissatisfied, but one day he went to play in the attic, and as he played there, he found, tucked away under some things, a big green book. And he took the book and read it, and he found out that it was a book of magic spells. It told how to cast spells, to do all sorts of things, to make cards do whatever you want, or to make animals do whatever you want, or to change the way you looked. And he just got absorbed reading this and learning all that he could from that. And so one day he hid it with him so he could look up whatever he wanted, and went outside to try out some of the spells. And, first he did something so that, his uncle and aunt wouldn't spot him and recognize him. And he disguised himself as a old man, and then he transformed his clothes so it wouldn't look like him, that the old man was wearing the same clothes as him. So he was out there and was trying out commanding a fox and dressing the fox in clothes with a spell. And he was having a great time out there. But his aunt was realizing that, that Jack was gone, and went looking for him all around the house and the yard, and the two of them went out with the dog to try to find him, and they didn't find him at all. But then they finally found Jack disguised now as the old man, and they asked him, "Have you seen a little boy? His name is Jack. He's disappeared." And the old man said, "Oh, he was here a while ago, but he's totally disappeared now. I don't know where you'll find him now." And they got talking with the old man, and then the uncle and aunt were about to leave to go looking further for Jack, and the old Jack, in disguise as an old man, said, "Stop and have a game of cards with me first. Play that." And that would be fun, and maybe Jack will come by here. So they sat down and played cards, and they just bet, played a bit, and we're playing for $2 a game, and using his magic powers, Jack won that game. And then then the uncle said, "Well, let's play a game and make it for $4. We'll make that back." And they lost again, and then $8, and they kept playing, and the uncle kept doubling the bets until they had no more money. So pleaded with him to accept that they would double the bet again, and if the old man won, he would own their house. And of course the old man won again. And then the uncle and aunt said, okay, let's double down again, but this time, if we lose, we'll be your servants in that house. And the old man won again, of course, and they were just brokenhearted of all that. So, Jack said, well, now that I own your house and you'll be my servant, I'm going to go ahead and see the house for myself. And you come along and do that. So he, headed out of sight of them and got to the house. And once he was back at the house, he transformed himself back into Jack. So when the uncle and aunt arrived there, just ready to start their roles as servants, they came in, they found Jack there. Just he'd been in, and he said, "Oh no, there's no old man here. You must have just imagined that." And they were, came to realize that no, the old man wasn't there. They still owned their own house and still were free. And after that, they were very glad. And so they got along a little happier with each other. Jack was happier with them, but he never told them what they had done. And he was kind of scared at the power that he had used with the spells of that green book. And he hid it away back in the attic and planned to never look at it again. But he didn't put it away before he cast one spell that would enable him to remember perfectly everything he ever read, and he just breezed through school ever after.
Very good.
Thank you. Wonderful. Yeah.
So that was an interesting discovery for me, I think.
Illustrations are great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a whole other thread about in the story about the big dog who loves to chase rabbits, and then him using a spell to you know change things around on the dog so that rabbits are chasing him. So that,
It's good.
but anyway, the whole book is wonderful with illustrations, but that's a little condensed version of that.
Wonderful story. Yeah. Lori, I understand that you are also a storyteller.
Yes, ma'am.
Ah. And where do you tell stories?
South Bay Storytellers and Listeners.
Aha, very nice.
Mhm. Not so far from you all.
Yeah, South Bay. Wow, okay.
Palo Alto is where we usually meet, or we used to meet.
Aha, right. Because I think today, if we were meeting, we would have something decorated with pink frosting, but not today, not today. Yeah. I have had my first vaccine shot, and I have my second on Saturday, February the 20th at 4:45 p.m. So 2 weeks after that, I'm going to drive up to see my eldest daughter in Reno. So that will be the second week in March. But so I most likely I'll take my computer with me, but I might not be at the meeting next month. So Lori and Miriam will set it up, and shall we continue to have our meetings the way, so we don't get
Yes.
good. All right.
We'll carry on.
Good. And I'm curious if anybody else has had their vaccine and what it was like after getting the second shot. No, says Miriam.
I just got my first one yesterday.
And was it Moderna? That's what I had.
Moderna. I got it through City College. I didn't have to get out of the car.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
I had my first shot also Tuesday of this week, Moderna,
Uh-huh.
and I'm getting my second shot on March the 9th.
Okay. And how about you, Rhoda? Did you? Oops, no, not here anymore, right? Okay.
Rhoda, you're muted, hon. You need to unmute yourself, Rhoda.
Rhoda, can you hear us?
There
Yeah.
she got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Rhoda, have you?
Signed up all the places I know to sign up. I'm signed up with the city and county and with my health insurance and with my doctor's group. And I'm supposed to get a notice. I haven't had a word.
Oh dear.
Oh,
Oh dear. Yeah.
oh,
They keep saying it's not available. I don't know. So when I spoke with the health, with my insurance company, they said, well, we'll try with the doctor's group. And they still didn't even get through. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
You can register
too.
on the internet, which is how I did it. And if you'd like, I can send you the link. There's different places located in the city that you can get them, and you just need to make an appointment. And I did, like I said, I did mine over at CCSF College. UCSF sponsored it. So if you'd like, I'll send you those links.
Right, well, if is that the drive-by one?
The drive-through one. You don't get out of your car at all.
Right, so I don't have a car, and then, so I would have to arrange it with a friend, and but it's still an appointment.
You can make an
But it
appointment. But the other places you can make appointments that you walk in.
Where?
You can walk in rather than drive through. If you have somebody who can take you, then you can drive through. Or if you want, I can help you with that.
Oh, that's nice.
I'll send you the information and you can let me know what you decide. Okay, Rhoda?
I can't hear you too well.
I said, I'll send you the link and you let me know if you need me to help you.
Oh, now say it again.
I'll send you the link.
Oh,
Link.
okay.
And, I can help you if you want me to.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, thanks.
Right after this, I'll do that.
Okay.
Well,
Hey, Doris, I have a question.
okay.
Are you still recording? Did you record? And is the recording still going?
Oh, I don't know. I
Yes,
guess
the
it was.
recording is still going. If you want to pause it, that's.
I'll pause it. Yeah.
This story, this version is taken from 1997 off the internet. And it's a true story about Larry Walters. Now, Larry is a truck driver, a veteran, and he's out in his backyard sitting in his lawn chair. He's looking up because he always wanted to fly. He always wanted to fly. He would look up there and look at the jets and the birds, and I am going to fly, he determined. Now, earlier in his life, he had joined the Air Force after high school. He's thinking, I was going to be a pilot. That way I would fly. But his eyesight was too poor and he couldn't pass the pilot's test. So he couldn't be a pilot. He got out of the Air Force in time. but he still had that desire to fly somehow. And he said, I'm going to do it. And with what little money he had, being a truck driver, he went to the Army Navy store and he bought 45 weather balloons, some helium tanks, and he loaded them up in his Jeep and went to his yard, unloaded everything, spread it out in the yard, and began tethering up the balloons to a lawn chair. A lawn chair of all things. Well, he had his Jeep and he tethered from all the balloons, he tethered them up or, attached them into 4 different levels of balloons as they would be later in 4 different levels. And then the main core, he anchored down to the back bench of his Jeep. He saw it could be ready. It'll be ready in a while. But he went inside and packed his provisions. He made some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. He got a 6-pack of Miller Lite and he took that out. He also to the bottom of the chair, what were Allen size milk cartons, put water in them and attached them down to the base of the chair. I'm thinking about my chair here. And they were going to be used as balance up there once he got up. Another one. Another one. They were 4 foot across, each one was. And of course, they began lifting up that chair just a little bit, but it was tethered back down to that Jeep. When it was up a ways, he clambered up into the chair just to test it. He thought, oh, this is going to work. This is going to work. And he tied on so tight his beer and his sandwich. When he had 45 weather balloons entirely up above him in the 4 different levels, he cut that tether and he thought, I'm going to be floating maybe 30 foot above the ground and I'm going to float around the neighborhood here and I'll float around for a while and I'm ready. I didn't tell you, he had a pellet gun with him. His plan was, good plans, his plan was that he would, when he decided to come down, he would just shoot some of the balloons and that would bring him down. That was the plan. Well, he thought, yeah, I'm going to just float up and when I'm ready, I'll shoot myself down and it'll be fine. Well, as soon as he cut that tether to the back bumper, he shot up as if being shot out of a cannon. And he went higher and higher and higher. And oh my gosh, he went up so high. He went up to with the air and up there. Oh my gosh, it was cold up there. He hadn't brought his jacket. Oh my gosh. And he was so high up there. The wind came. Now he was planning, he thought he'd go to the east. And why, he floated around up there long enough that he flew into the landing corridor of the LAX airport. Well, it wasn't long before C3 to tower, C3 to tower. There's a man up here tethered to balloons and he's in a chair. You can bet that they sent a helicopter up to check on him. They did see him on the radar and sure enough, he was a blip on the radar and they followed exactly where it was. And on the ground, they had police cars trying to follow him to see if he would ever land. but he just kept floating and floating and floating for hours. He was up there. Well, he floated closer to the coast, and the ocean breezes blew his balloon up over the waters. Well, the helicopter was pacing behind him. They couldn't get too close because the blades would have cut those balloons. They had to be careful, and they were trying to figure out how they were going to rescue him or get him down or something. He was afraid to shoot the balloons because at this point he was up so high, he thought it would just unbalance the whole thing and he'd fall right out. Well, they devised a plan, and it was getting dark, but they, instead of being close to him, they went way above him, and they dropped down their rescue line. And he saw it coming, and he caught it and had a clamp on it, and he clamped it onto his chair, and essentially they were able to drag him way behind that airplane back at least over the land. And then they got him down. They were going to plan on getting him over into a grassy field. They did their best, and he got, they did their best, and he landed. Down, he landed. They got him down to a big old field, and he got off. But as soon as he did, boy, the police were there and they arrested him. Cite him for having an unsafe aircraft because he didn't have an aircraft. They had to devise what he had, what rules and laws he had broken of the airspace and all. He was in big trouble, and he got a big fine that he could barely pay. Now that was the internet version. You know, that is a true story, but it didn't happen exactly like those. You've just heard the embellished version. Larry a lot of weather balloons, but it was 15 years before, July 2nd, 1982. And let's see, he had a CB radio with him. Let's see, what else? Oh, the ballast. I want to show you his chair. This is a photo. Those white things are water inside the milk gallon jugs on his chair. And people would ask him to be a motivational speaker because what do we really have here? We have a man who has a dream, and even at the risk of his own life, he decided, I am going to make my dream come true. And he indeed flew up. He was asked to be motivational speaker. And one story says that he went on a Johnny Carson show. There's really, I've been in previous years, I've done research, and there's different versions of Larry Walters' story. It's hard to know exactly which one is the true one. I think at this point, there's not one that's all the way with truth, but the truth is mainly about a young man deciding to make his dream come true. Larry Walters.
I love your energy. Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. Thank you, Janet. So glad you were here, Rhoda. And James and Louiselle had to leave. You probably saw their notes. So what a great opportunity to be together like this. I so appreciate it. And thank you, Lori. Thank you, Miriam, for really doing the magic to get us going. I'll send an email to everybody about the meeting next month, but I'm going to be out of Dodge. Hope so then. Okay.
Doris, your energy and your enthusiasm is so beautiful to watch, really.
Thank you. Thank
It's
you.
gorgeous.
Thank you. All right.
Doris, why don't you verbally sign it off of the recording, and then Lori will stop it.
Stopped it.
We stopped the recording.